Good morning. First of all, I want to thank all the media that are gathered here today to help us get the word out to our motorists, to keep them informed of what's happening out in the Fortify work zone and with the upcoming changes that we're here to talk about today. I also want to thank the public. It is because of them and their efforts to go along with the suggestions that we have made with alternative work schedules, using transit options, and using alternative routes that have so far made this project such a success. We're here today to let you know that we're going to be switching this weekend, weather dependent. Our plan is to switch from Phase 1 to Phase 2 on the I-440 portion of the Fortify project. Phase 1, which we are currently in, has traffic on the outside lane of I-440 and the shoulder of I-440 in a two-lane pattern. When we go to Phase 2, that traffic will move to the inside two lanes, the newly reconstructed lanes of I-440, all new construction, and the outside lane and the shoulder will be rehabilitated. Now there's going to be some differences the public will see, motorists will see, between Phase 1 and Phase 2. One of the biggest differences is during Phase 1, there was a barrier, a concrete median barrier on the left side of travel, and on the right side, it was pretty much an open shoulder with the exception of some locations where guardrail was located. In Phase 2, there will be concrete barrier on both the left side and the right side of travel. Another difference that you will see is during Phase 1, we had to do a lot of striping removal. So this resulted in some gouges in the pavement, some differences in elevation, things of that nature. In Phase 2, public will be traveling on newly constructed asphalt. So the pavement removal that you saw in Phase 1 is not going to be necessary. It will be a smoother ride and you won't see those kinds of things in Phase 2. Also in Phase 2, the exits for the interchanges will be farther away from the lanes of travel. In Phase 1, when traffic was traveling on the outside lane and the shoulder, the exits were actually closer to you. The signing for those exits were closer to you. In Phase 2, when traffic is moved to the inside lanes, those signings, these interchanges, those ramps are actually going to be farther away, and the signing for those interchanges are going to be farther away from the lanes of travel. So we do ask motorists to make sure you pay closer attention, slow down if you're trying to get off in an area that you're not familiar with out there. Slow down a little bit. You're going to have to look a little harder to see those signs because they are farther away. Also during this phase of construction, those interchange ramps will be reconstructed. So at some point in time between now and the end of the year, some of those ramp locations will temporarily change, and we'll also have some closures of those ramps during some interim periods. We will let you know when those closures are coming. Media advisories will be put out. We will let the public know what's coming, but we ask also that when those ramp locations are changed, that the public pay attention and take notice that those locations will be moving. We want to continue to encourage safety out here in the Fortify project. That is our ultimate goal, is to have a safe work zone for motorists and workers. We ask that motorists be courteous. We are going to continue to have the merge situation in two different locations. We're reducing from 3 lanes in the eastbound direction and from down to 2 lanes of travel in the westbound direction. And so we ask that you go ahead and merge. Don't try and be the first one in the queue. Be courteous when people are trying to get over. It will make traffic flow smoother if you will be courteous to your neighbor. We also want to remind everybody there will be no usable shoulders during this period. If you think you may have some sort of vehicular trouble, try not to enter the work zone. There will not be a shoulder for you to move on to. If you have trouble once you enter the work zone, try to make it to an interchange. If for whatever reason your vehicle breaks down, it cannot move any farther, we ask that you not exit your vehicle. Project personnel have already seen in Phase 1 people whose cars become disabled. They got out of those vehicles and they stepped into a live lane of travel. It's very unsafe, and we really encourage you, if you absolutely cannot progress to the next interchange, the next safe location, stay in your car, dial 911. We have our STOC, Statewide Traffic Operations Center personnel, who are monitoring the work zone on their cameras. If they see that there is a disabled vehicle, they immediately make a call. We have a contract tower who will mobilize. Our project personnel are trained to assist you in those situations. So we ask that you do stay in your vehicle, and we will send somebody to try and help you. I remind you of the fender bender law and the move over law, which requires you to move over for emergency vehicles if you see those flashing lights. And also, if you are involved in an incident and it is minor, then you are required to move those vehicles out of the lanes of travel. That is especially important in this work zone because of our limited space. Now, the new traffic pattern may take a few days to learn, but during phase one, the public adapted very well. The response time to get used to that work zone was very good. The public caught on very fast, and we're hoping that will occur here. But starting next week, once the new pattern is in place, again, it is going to be a little different. So we ask that you slow down a little bit, use a little extra caution until everyone gets familiar with the new pattern. I also wanted to share with you that during phase one of construction, we continued to sample the concrete pavement that was deteriorating on the project just to verify the chemical reaction that had been found thus far. And what we have found is the overwhelming majority of the samples that we have taken do confirm the chemical reaction. So we are absolutely doing the right thing. In replacing this pavement, one of the things I wanted to show you was an example of what we're replacing out here. This is a core that was taken from this project last year. And you can see when the reaction occurs, it causes the concrete to break. And this is an example. Now, following this shift, the next important milestone for this project will be the shift on the eastbound side of I-440. And we expect then the next month, after this shift is completed, that we will start the same process on the eastbound side, which is to move traffic from the outer lanes of I-440 to the inner lanes. And it will be a very similar situation over there as what we're going to have on the westbound side. We are on schedule at this point in time to complete the I-440 portion of Fortify this year. And as you have probably noticed out on 40, the work is continuing in preparation for the traffic shifts on that portion of the project. The bridge widenings continue. We have retaining walls that are being installed. We have shoulder strengthening that is starting to take place now. And you've probably noticed a little bit of lane shifting in that the lanes have been slightly narrowed so we could gain a little bit more room on the outside to do that shoulder work. We expect the first I-40 shift to be later this year on the west end of the project. At this point in time, I will open up for questions.
Are things on track still for the fall of 2016 for final completion, or are we a little ahead of schedule, a little behind?
We are currently slightly ahead of schedule.
And have you had any issues with people not obeying the posted speed limit signs? I see them all the time. It seems like nobody is going to post the speed limit signs in work zones. Have you noticed that? And do you have a message to the public to keep your crews safe out there?
We would like to encourage everyone to obey the posted speed limit. Both I-440 and I-40 have reduced speed limits. The speed limit in the I-440 portion is 55. The current speed limit on the I-40 portion is 60. The department participates in a program whereby we hire off-duty law enforcement personnel to patrol work zones. And we have noticed that the speeds in the 40 portion of the work zone have not reduced to the point where we feel like they should. So we have actually recently asked for those enforcement efforts to be ramped up and added. Any other questions?
Have you had any accidents? You mentioned people whose cars had stalled and then got out of the car. Any accidents along those lines, or accidents because of speeding in work zones? Any accidents with work trucks, etc.?
There have been accidents within the work zone. I do not have a comparison as far as whether the frequency of accidents has increased or is about the same. So I can't necessarily comment on whether the work zone has caused an increase or decrease. Any other questions? Well, again, I thank everybody for coming out. It is really a service to the department that you help us get this word out to motorists so they can be prepared for this work and the changes that will be coming up, and the department appreciates you helping us in this effort.